Part 1. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao Bai Sheng Wu. Chapter 1. Start being a girl today. Susienner was presented with an extremely delicate and white oval face, a pair of slightly narrow and long eyes, clear and transparent, like a clear pool, and slightly raised eyebrows, which was extremely beautiful. Her facial features were delicate and harmonious, her nose and mouth were very pink, and her bright black hair fell like a waterfall along her shoulders, which was very exciting. She was wearing white pajamas, and under the sunlight outside the window, she looked even more holy and pure. Her legs were white and extremely slender, and her bare feet were like jade. Looking at herself in the mirror, Susienner touched her chin, then pinched her chest, and raised her eyebrows slightly. It seems that I won't have to worry about food and clothing in this life, but this breast is a little small, I have to rub it more when I have nothing to do. As a dead otaku in her previous life, although Susienner had never held a girl's hand, she was very high-minded and had her own scoring standards in her heart. According to her standards, the person in the mirror was amazing, and she could score 1,000 points out of 100. Of course, Susienner was not surprised that she, a 20-something otaku, had turned into a girl after waking up. In her previous life, she was an orphan with no worries. As a pure otaku, she only went out once a month and read novels, comics, and animations from major websites at home. What settings had she not seen? Transformation was too easy for her. And she looked so beautiful that if she couldn't survive in the future, she would just find a rich second-generation man to marry and wait for death. Yes, Susienner was so heartless. Of course, that was the last resort. After all, she was mentally normal, female, male in mind, and female in hobbies. Holding the phone, she checked the time. It was already 7:30 and the class was at 8 o'clock. But Susienner was not in a hurry. First, she drew all the curtains, then closed the bedroom door, and finally turned off the lights. In an instant, the whole room was pitch black, with only the computer on the computer desk flashing. Perfect, Susienner clapped her hands and said with great satisfaction. As a nocturnal creature, a otaku, light is his life and death enemy. Even in the daytime, he has to make the room more like night. As for going to class, forget it. Anyway, after accepting some memories of the girl, Susienner knows that she has traveled through time and space. She is still an orphan. Her parents died in a plane crash 3 years ago, so no one can control her even if she doesn't go to class. This house in the high-end community is the inheritance left to her by her parents. Thinking of the inheritance, Susienner's expression froze. She picked up her mobile phone and checked the balance. There were still more than 1,000 yuan in assets. Then she looked at Alipay and there were still 2,000 yuan. In other words, her total assets are only 3,000 now. What can 3,000 do? Isn't it gone after a few games? I thought it was easy mode, but it turned out to be hard mode. However, 3,000 yuan is enough for her to live for a while. During this period, she might be able to think of a way. Thinking of this, Susienner turned on the computer and prepared to see if there were any new episodes in this world, and then see what the difference is between the comics and books in this world. An hour later. It's so ugly. What's going on? After rubbing her breasts hard and calming down her depression, Susienner felt very powerless. During this hour, she received very shocking information from the internet. First, China has become the world's largest country, which makes Susienner proud. Second, during World War II, China was the first country to develop the atomic bomb, and then directly wiped out the island country from the world map, shocking the world, which made Susienner applaud. Third, because the island country was destroyed, the level of Chinese comics is still at the level of Hong Kong comics. Most of the comics are martial arts, or muscle style, which is fine. What makes Susiener most angry is that the books and comics she read are also at the level of Hong Kong comics. The Lifen I just downloaded is called Huang Sun vs. Zhou Yu, which is a fan Lifen of a famous martial arts work in this world. As a result, the girl with 8-pack ABS in it made her click the cross directly. Of course, there are not only Hong Kong comics, but also American comics, but none of these can make her enter the Sage mode. Lifens are like this, can we still expect the level of comics? At this moment, Susiener never felt that the island country occupies such an important position in this world. Without this country, the development of AC in the world and the AV industry are too thin. Is it too late to commit suicide now? Susiener said faintly. She missed her previous life very much. Games, comics, animations, lifens, and comics are her spiritual food, especially lifens and comics are too important for single dogs. Without these, it is no different from killing her. But, the development of other industries is no different from the previous life, but the animation industry makes her feel like a thorn in her throat. However, there was one thing that surprised Susiener, that is, it was legal to draw comics and make comics in this world, which she could not imagine. Comics can be published openly on regular AC websites, and because of the strong protection of copyright, as long as someone reads the comics, they can get a lot of income. Of course, the AV industry is strongly prohibited. This made Susiener realize that it seemed that the country also knew that AC was too backward and needed to be developed. After all, the people lived and worked in peace and contentment, and the internet became the second world of people. As a result, there were no comics, and desires could not be vented, and social unrest intensified, which was very bad for China. Of course, all of this was her naive idea. Whether it was true or not, it remained to be verified. In an instant, an idea came to Susiener's mind. Since there are no comics to read, why not draw for yourself? Once this idea popped up, she couldn't stop it. The most important thing is that she only had 3,000 yuan left in her pocket. If she only ate, she would spend it in 2 months. What's more, she likes to play games, so she can't avoid Krypton gold. After all, how can you become stronger without Krypton gold? What's the difference between not becoming stronger and being a salted fish? Wouldn't that become one of the benefits provided by game companies to Krypton gold bigwigs? And according to her understanding, the manuscript fee for drawing books is higher than that of cartoonists drawing orthodox comics. It can be self-sufficient, make money, reduce social events and promote the spiritual entertainment of netizens and otakus. This is a good thing that benefits the country and the people. Susiener thought about it for a second and decided. Since she decided to draw a book, she must think about what subject matter and what type of story to draw. Then, Susiener was suddenly confused because she didn't remember the story in the book. Who cares about the plot when reading a book? Practicality is the basis. Susiener suddenly realized that she had read a lot of books and comics, but she couldn't remember the stories of these books. After all, she entered the Sage mode after eating, so who would think about the plot? Moreover, most of the stories in the books are very shallow and have no depth. Basically, they get to the point right away, and all kinds of life and death are the theme of the books. What should really be paid attention to is the style of painting. Why can't she read the comics and books in this world? Isn't it the rough style of painting? So, the practicality of the book is the real basis. As for the story, she can write it herself. Thinking of this, Susiener breathed a sigh of relief. She opened the document, and just when she was about to write the plot outline, the phone on the table rang. Hello, who is this? Student Su, why didn't you come to school today? I'm teaching, how can I have time for class? Since Lifen is a harmonious word, this book changes it to Lifen. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 2. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. As soon as she opened her mouth, Susiana realized that she had become a girl. She usually talks freely with her real friends online, so she hasn't changed her habit yet. What? Hearing Susiana's answer, the person on the other side of the phone screamed, and then said in a stern tone, "Susiana, where are you now? I'll go find you right away." At this time, Susiana picked up her phone and looked at it. The note was the class teacher, and she secretly screamed, but then she thought, isn't now a good time to ask for leave? "Teacher, I'm joking." At this time, Jo Kinja, who was in the school teacher's office, listened to the crisp and timid voice in her ears. She suddenly let go of the tension in her heart and breathed a big sigh of relief. She thought something bad happened to Susiana, but after thinking about it for a moment, she realized that she was confused if she cared. Then she said angrily, "You little guy, you know how to joke. Susiana's grades in school are among the best. Basically, she ranks first in age in every final exam. She is also the study committee member of Class 1, Grade 3. She is usually very well behaved and is like a little cotton-padded jacket in her heart." Later, she learned about the other party. Her family situation made her even more fond of him. Although Jo Kinja is the class teacher for this cute and beautiful girl, she is more like an elder sister. She has always regarded her as a younger sister, so she naturally cares about Susiana. Hearing this, Susiana thought for a while and said, "Teacher, I'm not feeling well, and that one is here too. I want to take 3 days off." She actually wanted to take a year off directly and then take the college entrance examination in the last few days. But from memory, I learned that this head teacher seemed to be a very responsible teacher. For such a person, Susiana naturally could not discuss this kind of issue with her on the phone, so she asked for 3 days of leave first. 3 days. After pondering for a while, Jo Kinja nodded, "That's okay. With your results, 3 days is nothing. Take a good rest and I will ask Licien to take notes and plan the content in these 3 days, so as not to let me do your homework." Susiana was startled and felt complicated, finally feeling the treatment of outstanding students. When asking for leave, the teacher didn't ask for details and asked the outstanding students in the class to help take notes. This was unusual. After hanging up the phone, Susiana picked up her phone and ordered Meituan takeout, making a lot of notes. Then I came to the computer and opened Dobeo. I just decided to draw a book and was so excited that I forgot that I needed tools to draw comics. Ordering writing desks, digital tablets, dot paper, scanners, and other things on Dobeo. Although Susiana was a dead house before time travel, and even called herself a waste house, she still had several skills. Among them, the best is painting. She is also one of the veterans of Station P. She is known as Detouch. When she is bored, she will race online, so she naturally knows what preparations are needed to draw comics. After looking at these things, they were basically all in surrounding cities. It would be the day after tomorrow before they could be delivered. However, seeing the economy shrink by more than half in an instant, Susiana also felt sad. But thinking that in 2 days she would be able to drive unscrupulously in this world, she felt much more comfortable. In terms of driving skills, she was ranked second, and no one in this world dared to be ranked first. Susiana then continued to browse the website. After all, the internet is the best way to understand the world. An hour later, the phone rang. It was the takeaway. Picking up her wallet, Susiana came to the door. As soon as I opened the door, I heard 2 sweet calls. "Little sister, why did you come out without clothes?" As soon as Susiana opened the door, she saw a beautiful girl with short hair holding large and small bags. Her angry look changed, and she quickly stepped forward, turned her body aside, and then looked behind her, and saw the opposite door open. It was also a girl who came out, so she breathed a sigh of relief. Why am I not wearing any clothes? Susienner tugged at her pajamas, confused. Seeing this, Chen Shui couldn't help but get angry. Girls nowadays really don't love themselves. Fortunately, she had no classes at university today and helped deliver food in the store. Otherwise, the girl in front of her would have been eaten by the delivery man. She looks like an angel, but has no defense. Give me the thing. Susienner looked at the thing in Chen Shui's hand, took it directly, put it on the ground, and checked it. Original paper, dip pen, pencil, eraser, brush, various rulers, black and white ink, stylus pen, art pen, and other tools for drawing comics. Not bad, there is nothing to pull down. Susienner praised, then looked at Chen Shui's speechless expression and said, "Don't worry, I will give it a good review." After saying that, Susienner thought of something and patted her little head. "Where are the cigarettes?" Hearing this, Chen Shui took out a cigarette from his pocket and handed it to Susienner, and said depressedly, "Can't you go out and buy it yourself? Our store is a restaurant responsible for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, not a stationery store." Susienner ordered a beef noodle dish, but ended up making a note of a lot of stationery for them to bring to the store. It was simply poisonous. If the other party hadn't been a girl, Chen Shui would definitely not have looked at him favorably, and might have asked him to say a few words. "Where's the lighter?" Susienner didn't respond to her words. She took the cigarette and froze. She found that she didn't seem to have a lighter, so she looked at Chen Shui. "You didn't mention the remarks." As she said that, Chen Shui looked at Susienner suspiciously. "Didn't you buy the cigarettes for your father or brother?" Susienner ignored her and looked at the girl behind Chen Shui. "Hey, do you have a lighter?" "Ah, me." The two of them talked for less than a minute. The girl hadn't reacted to Susienner's appearance. Seeing the other party asking her, she said nervously, "Yes, yes." As she said that, she walked in and took out a lighter and handed it to Susienner in less than a minute. "You are from the opposite door, right? Can I return this lighter to you later?" Susienner didn't want to smoke in front of the two of them. After all, this delivery man looked like a nosy person. It would be troublesome if he asked her questions and criticized her. "No problem. By the way, I just moved here yesterday. My name is Lin Jingshu." Lin Jingshu smiled softly. When she moved here yesterday, she wanted to say hello, but considering that she couldn't handle it if it was a boy, she had to give up. "Today, I didn't expect it to be a girl. It's just that the other party is too bold." She ordered takeout and came out dressed like this. "Isn't she afraid of meeting a lecher?" Susienner nodded, then took out money from her wallet and gave it to Chen Shui, and prepared to close the door. "Wait. What's wrong? You shouldn't have lost money." Susienner blinked and looked at Chen Shui in confusion. As soon as she finished speaking, she couldn't help but fall towards Chen Shui. When Susienner was shocked, she felt her face being rubbed twice, and then rubbed by the other party's face a few times, and finally a smack. After doing all this, without waiting for Susienner to speak, Chen Shui went downstairs contentedly. "Asshole. I'm going to give you a bad review. Whatever, I'm the boss's daughter, I'm not afraid of being fired." Girls shouldn't say dirty words. "Wait, I'll get revenge on you. I'll wait." Listening to the crisp laughter gradually disappearing, Susienner was so angry that she didn't expect that she was actually teased. Bang! With a loud bang, only Lin Jingshu was left standing in the aisle, staring at the closed door in a daze. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 3. After returning to the bedroom, Susienner finished eating beef noodles and had a cigarette in her mouth. She took a sip, coughed twice, and looked at the cigarette with a slight frown. It seemed that men's cigarettes were too strong for the body. "I can't smoke anymore." He threw the cigarette directly into the trash can. When he thought of something, he suddenly snorted and sneered, "Do you really think I can't take revenge on you?" She first went to Meituan and gave a negative review. Of course, this is not revenge at all for Susienur. Before, she was still thinking about how to get revenge on the other party. It wasn't that Susienur was petty, all otakus were kind-hearted, and she was no exception, but that she had already regarded the owner of this body as her own, so how could she let others get involved? She had to do the messy things first, and it had to be alone. The other party actually defiled this body, so of course she couldn't forgive him. She was very calm when she looked in the mirror, but her heart had long been captured by the angelic girl in the mirror. Although this was narcissism, who said that she couldn't like herself? Before, she had been thinking about what materials would be suitable for the plot since she was drawing a book. Isn't there a ready-made plot in front of me now? A story about a beautiful female delivery girl who delivers food to your door and is kidnapped by the owner of the room. Then the two fight for 300 rounds and finally surrender. What a reasonable plot, this is simply a godsend. After finalizing the story plot, it's time to decide on the style of painting. In Susiener's mind, there are many types of painting styles in books, but considering the acceptance level of people in this world, she must first understand them thoroughly. And the so-called acceptance must also be done step by step. If the taste is too strong or the painting style is too impactful at first, it may be too exciting and unacceptable. Thinking of this, Susiener opened the Tencent animation webpage. Just now, Susiener learned that there are many animation websites in this world, such as Yuki, Manga Island, Animation Home, Animation House, etc., but the most famous ones are Tencent Animation and Yuki. As for why she chose Tencent Animation, Susiener, who is in the late stage of lazy cancer, said of course it was because she could just log in with QQ and no registration was required. Tencent Animation is divided into a surface area and an internal area. The external area contains some external scenes, while the internal area is something that can only be viewed by adults. Although in China in this world, benzi and lifen are legalized just like the island countries in the previous life, but they are clearly distinguished and minors must not browse. But as long as you reach adulthood, there is no such threshold. Registering a Li District account is very simple in Tencent Animation. You only need to verify it with your mobile phone. If you are on other animation websites, even if you have a front-end account, you still have to fill in a bunch of messy things such as your mobile phone and ID card. It is very troublesome. After all, the front and back areas of an animation website are different. The adult age in Huaxia is 16, and Susiener is already 17, so she can naturally register. After registration is completed, log into the inner area, and all kinds of covers will be printed in it in an instant. Susiener looked at it expressionlessly, with no fluctuation in her heart. To be honest, the problem of painting style in this world was not too completely crooked in her opinion. Although the orthodox comic style is Hong Kong comic muscle style, it is just a style. Some cartoonists' painting skills are master level, and some new painters are also groping for their own way. A very small number of comic styles make Susiener saw the prototype of the painting style of the previous island country in the 1970s and 1980s. But as soon as she entered the main area of the website, all Susiener saw were books in the style of Hong Kong comics. Each muscle line was drawn very familiarly, not only for men, but also for women. Forget it for orthodox comics, your book actually has the style of drawing. You must know that the style of Hong Kong comics is not limited to muscle style. But Susiener also knew that she couldn't blame the people in this world, but that the only style of painting in this world was that of the Hong Kong comic muscle series. While complaining and flipping through the pages, Susiener was suddenly startled. Huang Sun vs. Zhou Yu, Author, Master Yi. Isn't this the show she just watched? I didn't expect that there is a book. It seems to be an adaptation of the book. Susiener suddenly became interested because this book turned out to be the most popular. She didn't scroll through the content, but scrolled through the comments section. Before reading the comic, if you want to know whether the comic is good or not, you should naturally read the comment section first, although in Susiener's eyes, the books and life in this world are very annoying. After 2 days, I can't help but read through it. The heroine in Master Yi's works is still so delicious, and her muscular lines are addictive. As a reward for tonight's drinks and food, I will give you 1,000 points of moral integrity. Please don't dislike it, Master Yi. This comment made Susiener use a lot of perseverance to resist the desire to complain. I heard that there was a story 2 days ago. When I watched it today, I almost restored the plot of the book. Huang Sun and Zhou Yu actually fought several times before it ended. It was really enjoyable to watch in 20 minutes. I ate 4 of them in one night. I'm still very dissatisfied. When will Master Yi release the 4th part of the series? Please give me Li Tongtong's copy. You are so awesome. Susiener held her hands on her smooth forehead, with a complicated expression, and her cute little face had a sad emotion. Master Yi, stop drawing any notebooks, Summoner's Rift needs you. Is the style of the League of Legends in this world also based on muscle? Susiener thought expressionlessly. After reading all the way through, Susiener finally clicked the cross in the upper right corner with a look of compassion. She seemed to see billions of souls wailing all over the world, like homeless children. This kind of book has received all the praises. Kisaragi Gunma, Takeda Hiromitsu, Mizunatsuki Juzan, Mizurioke, Tsukimi Deifuku, Tony, Akatsuki, teachers, did you see it? This world needs to be saved. The idea of painting an orthodox manga disappeared completely at this moment. If the development of this world continues, it will take at least several decades for the style of the book to return to the level of the previous life. No books and fan reading for decades? Thinking of this, Susiener knew that she had to go all out. The plot was finalized before, and now Susiener had to think about the style of painting, and she had to be cautious. She just browsed some books, and there were only 2 styles of painting. One was the muscle style of Hong Kong comics, and the other was the muscle style of American comics. But she also knew that some people in the orthodox comics had already explored the prototype of the style of painting in the 1970s and 1980s in the previous life, which means that she had to start from this aspect. The style of painting is relatively simple and plain. Just for this reason, many teachers must be excluded. For example, Mr. Takeda Hiromitsu's painting style is a kind of painting that you can never get tired of. Just like a bowl of strong wine, it is spicy at first, but the aftertaste is wonderful. However, if the black-faced painting style of Mr. Takeda is the main one, the impact is too great and it is not suitable for newbies. Of course, compared with Mr. Takeda, Mizurioke's painting style is more impactful. The women in his paintings are all brave and good at fighting, with strong martial arts, often challenge, and when they are happy, they will fight against many people alone, which is very refreshing and can be called the Empress. After excluding all the teachers who are worthy of respect in my heart one by one, there are only a few left. Finally, after another comparison, Susiener finally made up her mind. Kiritsuki Gunma, it's decided to be you. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 4. In the blink of an eye, 2 days have passed since Susiener traveled through time. In the past 2 days, Susiener has not made any progress in her notebook because she was waiting for the tools of Dobeo. Or maybe she just traveled through time and she needs to quickly understand this world. After 2 days of thorough understanding, she found that China's entertainment is at a normal level, except for ACK. In the game industry, Q-version online games, mobile games, and web games almost fill the entire China. Whether it is CG or illustrations, they are all Q-version types, and there are no normal ones. As for the two-dimensional games, yes, but they are eye-catching. Of course, the most popular game at the moment belongs to League of Legends, but the painting style he saw is the American comic muscle system. Those female heroes are no longer soft, but like strong men, and their faces are even more ferocious. And she found that the cartoonists in this world have a deep understanding of human muscles. For example, the forum Manga House is the largest gathering place for cartoonists on the Chinese internet, but she peeked at the screen for 2 days and found some problems. Orthodox cartoonists are studying how to make the muscles more impactful and violent, while the authors of the book are studying how to make the muscle lines of the characters more sexy and full of temptation. As for other directions, no one is studying them. Susiener has completely lost the desire to complain, but she also understands why the Chinese comic style presents such a monotonous style. This is still due to the 1970s and 1980s, when China was strong and people had begun to pursue spiritual entertainment. Hong Kong was one of the developed cities in China, so the entertainment industry was very developed. At that time, novels were mainly martial arts, and comics were naturally mainly martial arts. The style that can express the style of martial arts novels is naturally the style of fists and flesh. Therefore, even if martial arts novels are no longer mainstream, the muscle style has been completely finalized, which makes the book also present the muscle style. However, Susiener learned in the past 2 days that the orthodox cartoonists have not been impacted by fans. Instead, the comment area under the author of the book is full of "tired of it, why are they all muscle-based, please change," and other comments. Of course, although this is the case, since there are only muscle types, fans complain but still enjoy it, so most of the book authors naturally have no intention of changing it. When the whole world is in a style of painting, people are assimilated. Too pitiful, Susiener sighed. At this time, the doorbell rang. I thought it was a takeaway, but when I went outside, I saw a cute girl. Li Jinjiao, looking at the familiar face, Susiener suddenly realized, "You are here to ask for a lighter, right? I'll get it for you later." "It's Lin Jingshu," Lin Jingshu said dissatisfiedly. Looking at Susiener, who was wearing a red and white sportswear and had messy hair, she never thought that the other party was the study committee member of Class 1, Grade 3. Then, seeing the action, she hurriedly said, "Student Su, I'm not here to ask for a lighter, I'm here to take care of you." "Take care of me?" Susiener was confused. "I'm not paralyzed to the point where I need someone to take care of me. The head teacher asked me to come." Lin Jingshu hesitated. "I just transferred here yesterday, and I'm in Class 1, Grade 3. The head teacher knows that you and I are neighbors, so he asked me to come and take care of you so that you can recover soon." Transfer student, Susiener looked Lin Jingshu up and down, and suddenly her eyes lit up. "This is also an excellent material." "What?" Lin Jingshu said blankly. "Nothing, since the class teacher asked you to come, then come in." When Susiener returned to the bedroom and sat in front of the computer, she looked at Lin Jingshu, who was hesitating outside the door. "What's wrong? Come in and sit down, you're welcome." So classmate, how long have you not been out?" Looking at Susiener in front of her with mixed feelings, Lin Jingshu suppressed the desire to complain. The mess in the bedroom can't be described in words. The trash can under the computer desk is full of garbage. There are a pile of takeaway boxes and garbage bags that have been eaten long ago, and there are Coke cans, Sprite cans, large bottles of Coke cups, mineral water bottles on the table. The quilt on the bed is crumpled into a ball, a pile of clothes are thrown casually on the bedside table and the bed, the pillows are swaying and almost falling to the ground, and other spaces are occupied by books and sundries. The originally large bedroom has become extremely small. In addition, Susianer pulled the curtains very tightly, and the room is almost the same as at night. Seeing this scene, Lin Jingshu retreated a little, and was reluctant to enter the door, and regretted entering the door a little. By the way, such a messy room doesn't have any odor, which is really rare. 2 days, I'm busy these 2 days, so it's a little messy. I usually like to keep it clean. Susianer glanced at the room and said nonchalantly, and this feels like home, doesn't it? Lin Jingshu looked at Susianer with disdain, and then said helplessly, I'll help you clean it up. As she said that, Lin Jingshu came to the window, and then pulled it. In the blink of an eye, the scorching sun of September Sunday shone in. It's so dazzling. Susianer covered her eyes and screamed, can you draw the curtains? I feel like dying. Are you a vampire? Lin Jingshu said unhappily, muttering softly. The head teacher also said that classmate Su has excellent grades in school, good character, kind and lovely, and likes to help others. I think it's all a lie. Hearing this, Susianer could only pretend not to hear it. Then Lin Jingshu cleaned the room thoroughly. Although it didn't feel spotless, it was extremely clean and tidy. Student Su, come with me to throw away the garbage. Looking at the several large garbage bags in the corner, which were full of dirt, Lin Jingshu obviously couldn't take so much by herself. Looking at the scorching summer outside, Susianer, who was about to refuse, suddenly received several text messages. Seeing that all the things she bought online were placed in the cloud cabinet, she couldn't help but said depressedly, this courier is too irresponsible. Can't the things be delivered to the door? Helpless Susianer could only accompany Lin Jingshu downstairs and pick up the courier by the way. Along the way, Susianer talked with Lin Jingshu and learned that Lin Jingshu was also living alone now. The other party's parents were both scientific researchers and were not at home all year round, so she helped Lin Jingshu find a high-end apartment with strict security and then transferred here. Susianer had to sigh that this was another God-given material. The girl next door transferred to the school, and her parents were not at home all year round. This is the best plot of the book. After spending some time with Susianer, Lin Jingshu has come to understand her better. Or rather, she has no intention of hiding her behavior. Lazy, decadent, sloppy, a homebody, afraid of trouble, basically all the words are the opposite of what the head teacher said. There is only one thing that Lin Jingshu has no objection to. That is, Susianer is really cute. Even if she wears old-fashioned sportswear, messy hair, unkempt appearance, and yawns all the time, her delicate and flawless face can change everything. No wonder the delivery lady couldn't help hugging and kissing her a few days ago. And the other party's appearance of being a homebody has a different kind of cuteness, which makes people want to hug her and ravage her. Of course, such a perfect Susianer has a flaw. Thinking of this, Lin Jingshu looked at the other party's chest, squinted her eyes, and finally regained a little confidence. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 5. After picking up the express, she said goodbye to Lin Jingshu, mainly because she had to go to class in the afternoon. Of course, Susianer repeatedly told her not to expose her, after all, she was on sick leave. Lin Jingshu agreed with difficulty, and went to school with a guilty mood in front of the head teacher. She didn't ask much about Susianer's situation, because the head teacher greeted her in the morning. She knew that Susianer was an orphan now, and the two were neighbors. Although they only spent an hour together, she liked Susianer very much. Because her parents were both scientific researchers, Lin Jingshu often transferred schools when she was a child. When she was about to make friends, her parents were transferred to other positions and transferred again. So until now, she has not had a real friend. This time, her parents went to the capital and wanted to take her with them, but she refused. Lin Jingshu, who couldn't stand this situation, told her what she thought. After a day of careful consideration, Lin Jingshu's parents made a decision. So, now Lin Jingshu is also living alone. She just transferred to another school. Naturally, she hopes to make friends. However, she is in her third year of high school. In addition, UXZ number 1 high school is a provincial key high school. Everyone is preparing for the college entrance examination and has no intention of making friends. Until she met Susienner. Susienner didn't know what Lin Jingshu was thinking. When she got home, the takeaway just arrived. After lunch, she ordered a mint-flavored female cigarette. After satisfying her craving for cigarettes, she began to pack up her things and started her racing career. The plot and style of painting had been finalized before, but there was one thing Susienner had to consider, that is, whether to draw a series. Because most of the books in this world are series books. There are plots, content, and fighting between men and women. To be honest, if this was in the previous life, apart from the style of painting, this kind of book is indeed what Susienner likes. Because there are too many books without plots, where men and women meet and fight directly. But, this world attaches too much importance to the plot. For example, half of the book Huang Sun vs. Zhou Yu is about the relationship between men and women. This is not a classic NTR plot. Why do you focus so much on the plot? Readers don't read the book to see the plot. And it's a fan book. Other people's emotions have been written long ago, and readers can fully immerse themselves in it. There is no need for you to draw these extra plots. The plot can't cover too much in the book, because this is not an orthodox comic, but just a simple book, so the plot is just an embellishment to make readers more involved. However, series books are the mainstream in this world, and short stories are not very popular. Considering this, Susienner decided to draw a series. Anyway, the plot of the book is just those routines. Of course, after the series is determined, the male and female protagonists should be determined. The female protagonist is naturally Chen Shui. Before giving a bad review 2 days ago, she even called the restaurant to ask the other party's name. The female protagonist is determined, so what about the male protagonist? Susienner touched the smooth breasts and thought, after all, this is a series, and it will be serialized in the future, so the male protagonist style cannot be too ugly, and this world does not like dead fat otakus to be the protagonists of books. How about using my past life as the protagonist of the book? Susienner made a decision as soon as she thought about it. What could be more exciting than being the protagonist of the book? After thinking about it, Susienner started to write. 2 days ago, she decided to use the style of Ryu teacher. Although it was hasty, it was a well-thought-out decision. Ryu Gunzen's early style tended to be like Katsura Masakazu, and later it tended to be more like Strawberry 100%. And this is why Susienner chose Ryu teacher's style as the main style. Although the character lines are simple, the basic requirements for the painter are very high. There is not too much clutter, and the most important thing is that the picture is fresh. Of course, Ryu teacher also has flaws, that is, you will feel bored after reading too much. To be honest, in the previous life, Susienner no longer paid attention to Ryu Gunzen's book, because the other party has published so many single volumes with the same style, which is really easy to get bored. But there is no need to worry in this world. The male and female protagonists have been determined, and the plot has been established before. The story is that the male protagonist ordered a takeaway, but waited for more than an hour before the female takeaway driver delivered the takeaway. Then the male protagonist scolded the female takeaway driver, but she actually cried. The male protagonist was caught off guard and could only comfort her and bring her into the house. In the end, the female takeaway driver apologized. These plots can be drawn for about 4 pages. According to the standard of about 20 pages per episode, the remaining 10 pages are all scenes of the two fighting. Of course, since it is a series of books, some suspense must be left in the last 1 or 2 pages. She hadn't thought of it before, but Lin Jingshu gave her some inspiration today. In the last 1 or 2 pages, you can draw the girl who just moved in. Because she found that the previous tenant had chiseled a round hole in the wall for peeping, she was curious and discovered the melee between the male protagonist and the female takeaway driver next door. After watching it, she found that she had entered the combat mode, and then the first episode ended. Perfect preparation for the battle between the protagonist and the girl next door in the next episode. After pondering for a while, Susiener basically understood the whole plot and started writing. When a person devotes himself to something, time will pass quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was night from noon. When Lin Jingshu came back from school and cooked at home, she thought of Susiener who always ate takeout, and after hesitating for a while, she wanted to ask her to eat together. As a result, she called and found that Susiener's voice was a little wrong, very weak and numb, which made Lin Jingshu anxious. She asked the other party what was wrong, but she didn't say anything. After hanging up the phone, Lin Jingshu came to the door and entered the password of the electronic lock of the door that Susiener told her at noon. After entering the door, she hurried to Susiener's bedroom and was stunned when she opened the door. Although the bedroom was not as dirty as at noon, there were paper balls thrown everywhere on the floor and the table, and even the bed was affected. The most important thing was that she found that Susiener was actually naked, and then lowered her head and stared blankly at her slightly bulging chest. "Student Su, what's wrong with you?" Feeling that Susiener was a little abnormal, Lin Jingshu hesitated and said. Hearing the voice, Susiener looked at Lin Jingshu, and then found something. Her eyes suddenly lit up, and the whole person seemed to be full of life. "Lin Jingshu, I need your help." Classmate Su, put on your clothes first." Looking at Susiener who was naked, Lin Jingshu felt shy even though she was a girl. But classmate Su's skin was like white jade, so beautiful. "If you agree to help me first, I will put on my clothes." "You can't threaten me without clothes," but looking at Susiener's expectant eyes, Lin Jingshu could only nod helplessly. "So, classmate Su, is there anything I can do to help you?" After Susiener put on her clothes, Lin Jingshu asked curiously. "It's very simple, just take off your clothes." "Ah. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Sheng Wu. Chapter 6. You can't draw breasts, so you need my. For reference, Lin Jingshu crossed her arms, her face slightly red, and looked at Susiener with disgust. "Can't you use the reference on the internet? That's also called breasts." In Susiener's opinion, the breasts of women in the books in this world can only be used to distinguish between male and female, and there is no other use. To be honest, she didn't expect that she would be stuck at this step. But looking back, although she had been stationed in P Station in her previous life and drove crazy on the internet, she had never drawn 18x things, so she had no experience in drawing books. This was her first attempt, and she met Waterloo. Of course, there is nothing to despair about, because success is achieved step by step. It happened that she traveled through time and became a girl, so she took off her clothes and observed her body for a long time, but the slight bulge on her chest made her lose hope. You should know that there is a taboo in drawing books, that is, except for lowly books, other women must not have flat chests. Think about it, when you are reading the book, the hero and heroine are about to kill each other, but the heroine doesn't bring any weapons, which makes the story boring. So the female delivery man must not have flat breasts, but when she wanted to learn from her own body, she found that hers was also flat. Of course, she couldn't tell Lin Jingshu about the book. After thinking about it, Susiener said honestly, "It's like this. Recently, I'm studying a new style of painting in comics, so the current mainstream style has no reference at all, and it will make me go astray. In the afternoon, when I was experimenting, I found that the structure of the female body is more complicated than that of the male body, so I need a female body for reference. Seeing is believing. Lin Jingshu hugged her chest and snorted, obviously not believing it. Sit still and don't move. Give me 10 minutes. Seeing this, Susiener directly picked up the drawing board, pasted a piece of 8-fold drawing paper, and then picked up the brush to start painting. Seeing this, although Lin Jingshu was curious, she didn't move around, but acted as a model conscientiously. 10 minutes later, when Lin Jingshu took the drawing paper handed over by Susiener, she only took a glance and was shocked. She covered her mouth and said, "What is this?" What appeared in her eyes was a picture of a cute girl, with an oval face, long hair, a cute hairpin, sitting on the bed, showing a very smile, making the whole picture vivid, but what attracted Lin Jingshu the most was the eyes, which were obviously exaggerated and drawn very big. However, these big eyes had a watery feeling, which made Lin Jingshu's eyes flash with a strange light. She had no interest in comics, but she knew that China did not have the style of painting, or the muscular style of painting, which made girls in the group of comics readers naturally discouraged. Therefore, although the comic industry in this world is not bad and the country is also promoting it, it is not as hot as in the previous life. And this style of painting by Susiener made Lin Jingshu like it as soon as she saw it, and she wanted to take it for herself. This is the new style I've researched, but we only have 10 minutes because the time is too tight. Otherwise, I can make it more like the real thing. Susiener was in a hurry, so she painted it in a hurry. For example, she only drew a few strokes for the costumes, focusing on the face, but even so, it was still relatively simple. Can it be more like the real thing? Lin Jingshu said in surprise. This painting had already amazed her, but she didn't expect Susiener to be able to paint better. Then classmate Su, can you draw a complete one for me? Susiener was startled, looking at Lin Jingshu's expectant eyes, and was obviously fascinated by this pure two-dimensional style. So you agree to my request? Ah, Lin Jingshu thought of Susiener's request before, but she agreed after thinking about it. Anyway, they are all girls, what's there to be afraid of? And Susiener was naked in front of her just now, and the other party was not shy, so she naturally wouldn't be too pretentious. Then Lin Jingshu asked Susiener to draw her first, otherwise she would not give her the material. Susiener had no choice but to give in. It took more than an hour to do it. But seeing Lin Jingshu's amazed and fond expression, she knew she succeeded. Then the next thing was the question of breasts. Although Lin Jingshu was very shy, Susiener was already impatient. After a rough and messy time, Susiener finally had full confidence in the normal size of breasts. Lin Jingshu's face was flushed. After putting on her clothes, she always felt that she was no longer pure. She actually traded with Susiener for a painting. Although Susiener looked normal on the surface, she was still terrified in her heart. After all, the girl's body was inhabited by a male soul. But in addition to terrified, there was also a desire, but it was a pity that she was a girl now and couldn't vent it even if she wanted to. By the way, classmate Su, are you eating? Lin Jingshu put on her clothes and finally remembered her original purpose. It just so happens that I'm hungry too. What do you want to eat? I'll order it for you. Picking up the phone, Susiener clicked on Meituan. I've cooked dinner at my house, let's go over and eat. Ah, but I'm not hungry. I'll bring it to you. Thank you, Jingshu, you're an angel. Lin Jingshu's mouth twitched, and she was speechless. She always felt that she was doing the work of a nanny, and she didn't get paid. After finishing her meal, Lin Jingshu went back to her home to do the test paper, and Susiener naturally started her real book journey. Although Susiener asked for 3 days off the first 2 days, it was the weekend after 3 days, so Susiener took 5 days off. During these days, she just finished the first chapter of the book she named Susien series, The Female Takeaway on the Weekend Night. It's up to you to make money. Looking at the 23-page manuscript and the rapidly shrinking wallet, Susienner was heartless, but she didn't want to starve to death. Looking at the time, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. Susienner created a book author account in Tencent Comics and named it, Miobi. After all, the names of the book authors in this world are quite literary, so she naturally can't fall behind. After creating the author account, Susienner uploaded all the drawings. Now it is the world of the internet, so there is no need to take the manuscript to the comic magazine to submit it in person, just a click on the internet. After uploading, Susienner stretched her body while looking at the status of pending review on the website. She certainly didn't want to sleep. She had found a mobile game to play in the past 2 days. Since she was not used to the mobile phone screen, she played it on the computer with an emulator. So for Susienner, the night carnival had just begun. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 Were all the women in the comics before unevolved apes? At 8 o'clock on Monday morning, Li Yuan came to work at the Tencent Animation editorial department as usual. As the review editor of the inner area of Tencent Animation, Li Yuan was actually not happy, because this was not a job he liked. Although he was called a review editor on the surface, many people privately called this type of editor a comic appraiser. Every comic website has a front area and an inner area. As a review editor of the inner area, he reads comics every day. When he was first transferred to this job, he was very happy. Reading comics at work and getting a salary settlement at the end of the month, is there a more comfortable job than this? This is simply the dream of countless men. However, until now, Li Yuan suddenly remembered the thin middle-aged man who handed over the work to him. When he handed over the work, the other party looked at him with pity, and he didn't understand why. Now think about it, the other party obviously saw his future. Every day, he saw nothing but muscles, and he was quite excited at first, watching his lower body weapon flashing cold light, but now, he has completely lost the desire to fight. Sighing, Li Yuan sat down and said hello to his colleague next to him. Brother Li, today seems to be the day when Luoan Jushi published his manuscript. The higher UPS asked us to review it quickly and said that it will be made into a lifen and released next month. I know, Li Yuan responded weakly, I will review it as soon as possible. In fact, the review of the book is very simple compared to the orthodox comics. As long as there are no anti-national, anti-social, and anti-human remarks in the lifen, it is fine. It is not as strict as the orthodox comics. Luoan Jushi is a well-known author in the book world. His style is quite interesting, so he has attracted a group of die-hard fans. He is one of the famous authors in Tencent Animation. But the other party still can't get rid of the muscle style, or all book authors can't get rid of it. As an experienced editor, Li Yuan knows that if it continues like this, the book world will be finished sooner or later. The comics industry as a whole is already on the decline. If no changes are made now, it may never recover. Thinking of this, Li Yuan opened the website and looked at the information of the books to be reviewed one by one. He was numb. He is now thinking about when to find an opportunity to have a drink with the boss and ask him to help transfer him away. This place is really not for people to stay. Recently, he feels that his sword is a little rusty. If he continues like this, he will be killed sooner or later. While thinking, Li Yuan reviewed the book with a blank expression. Just as he closed a book, he was stunned when he saw a book called Suxian Series of Female Takeaway on the screen. This guy doesn't even color it. And he doesn't even draw the cover. It's so irresponsible. Looking at the big words on the cover and the black and white pages, there is not even a cover. Li Yuan frowned and looked at the author's name, Miobi. He was not familiar with it. It was obviously a newcomer. There is one thing that is worthy of praise in the Chinese comics industry, that is, all of them are color comics, and there are no black and white comics at all. The book is naturally no exception, so Li Yuan was a little dissatisfied when he saw it at first glance, not to mention that the other party didn't even draw the cover. Now the book industry has already begun to decline, and the attitude of the newcomers is not serious, which is even worse. Of course, although he was dissatisfied, Li Yuan still had a work attitude and turned to the first page directly. When he turned it, Li Yuan's eyelids jumped and he tightened the mouse in his hand. "What is this?" His tone was puzzled and shocked. What caught his eyes was a style of painting that was different from what he had seen in the past year of work. It was a completely different style of painting. He couldn't tell what style this style was, but for some reason his heartbeat suddenly accelerated. The muscle style has been defined in this world, and the cartoonists have no intention of changing it, which has led to people's hearts. However, the muscle style in orthodox comics is not criticized. But in the past 1 or 2 years, some readers in the book world have gradually disliked this style of painting because they feel like vomiting. Now I want to vomit when I see muscles. But what is surprising is that the sales of books and Lifen have not dropped too much, so the authors of books have no intention of seeking changes. But today, Li Yuan saw a style of painting that he had never seen before. The lines are simple, the pictures are fresh, and the most important thing is that although the male protagonist appears on the first page, he no longer has that muscular style, but people can tell at a glance that he is an ordinary person. Yes, an ordinary person, not a muscular man. Moreover, this style of painting makes Li Yuan feel a sense of harmony from the heart, and he accepts it very quickly. "No. Don't let me down," Li Yuan whispered. The style of the male protagonist made him feel a stream of fresh air, very pleasing to the eye, although he can't stand black and white comics, but the style of Myobi teacher conquered him. Yes, Myobi teacher. At this moment, this Myobi can bear this title just by the style of painting. However, in the book, the male protagonist is indispensable, but not the main thing. The most important thing is the portrayal of women. It can be said that as long as the male protagonist is a person with a weapon in the book, it will be fine, because basically all the readers of the book are men, and they focus on whether women can make their swords flash cold light. Therefore, if the women drawn by Myobi teacher cannot conquer him, then he can only declare this comic dead in advance. Li Yuan, who has been reading comics for a long time, has a pair of electric eyes. He can basically grasp the general plot with just a glance. At the beginning, the protagonist Susian was playing games while waiting for takeout. The game ended but the takeout didn't come. As a result, when he was complaining a little, the doorbell rang. The first page ends. If Li Yuan had turned to the second page in the past, he might have finished the whole chapter, but at this moment, he was extremely nervous and didn't dare to turn the page. Taking a deep breath, Li Yuan clicked the left mouse button. The next moment, Li Yuan's eyes widened, staring at it, motionless. It was so awesome. After a few seconds, Li Yuan wanted to scream, but he held back. At this moment, Li Yuan realized that there were women in comics. What were the women in the books he read before? Were they monsters? They were worthy of being called women? They were worthy of being called girls. Compared with the female takeout girl in the book in front of him, the women in the books before were like monkeys that had not yet evolved completely. When the protagonist Susian opened the door and the female takeout girl appeared, Li Yuan was shocked as never before and felt that he had lived like a dog in the first half of his life. After sighing, Li Yuan realized that the delivery girl was too exposed. Is it really okay to deliver food in such a short skirt? And it seems that she is not wearing any underwear? Are there such girls in modern society? Damn, the male protagonist is so inhuman that he actually scolded such a cute girl to tears. Girl, you ruined my worldview. The apology was in this form. The development was too fast. You are so shameless when you just met for the first time. The most important thing is that you are still a virgin. It is too illogical. And the girl's expression is too sexy, he is jealous of Susian. Li Yuan read faster and faster, and turned faster and faster. When he turned to the last page, Li Yuan realized that he had finished reading. For a moment, he actually felt a sense of loss. The most important thing is that he now wants to know the subsequent plot and how the girl next door who just moved in will develop. Looking down at his sword, he could see that it was already flashing with cold light. If he wasn't at work and surrounded by so many colleagues, he would have already drawn his sword and committed suicide. He couldn't even remember the last time he was reviewing a manuscript and felt so eager to fight. Thinking of this, he turned to the first page and planned to read it again. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 8. Just when Li Yuan continued to watch without hesitation and completely forgot to review Luo and Jushi's manuscript, Lin Jingshu was pulling Susiener on the way to school. Oh, hurry up! Lin Jingshu looked at Susiener's sleepy eyes, yawning continuously, and a black line on her head. What's the hurry? Susiener rubbed her eyes, feeling sleepy, and then looked at Lin Jingshu faintly. You actually made a report to the teacher. I misjudged you. Who told you not to get up? Lin Jingshu said helplessly, including the weekend. You haven't gone to school for 5 days. If you don't go to the class teacher, you will definitely be held accountable. Haha, I'm not afraid of the teacher. Then why are you getting up? Lin Jingshu was convinced, and then stopped talking nonsense to the other party, pulled Susiener and ran away. According to Lin Jingshu's habit of getting up on time at 6 o'clock, she was actually delayed for 2 hours by Susiener. She had been a well-behaved person since she was a child, so she was naturally anxious. When I arrived at school, it was already 10 minutes past 8, and morning reading had already started 10 minutes ago. Of course, there are teachers on duty during the morning reading period. Since there is no class during this period, the teacher will not say much if you are late, not to mention that both Susiener and Lin Jingshu are excellent students. However, when Susiener entered the classroom, everyone was confused. In fact, there is a big difference between Susiener at this time and Susiener in the past. Of course, this difference is reflected in appearance. In the past, Susiener was neatly dressed and always had a smile on her face, making people bathe in the spring breeze. Although she did not wear makeup, her delicate and lovely face was even more beautiful than those women on the internet who wore makeup. In other words, there was no comparison at all. But now Susiener looked like she was dying, her eyes were squinted, she might fall asleep at any time, her hair was fluffy, with a few strands sticking up mischievously, and she was wearing a red and white sportswear, almost the same as before. Understand the difference between heaven and earth. When the teacher on duty saw this, he couldn't help but laugh. Student Su, you can definitely sort yourself out before coming to school, but since you're already here, you two should sit down in your seats quickly. Lin Jingshu felt uncomfortable being noticed by the whole class. When she heard the teacher's voice, she quickly returned to her seat. As for Susiener, she ignored her. In the morning, I asked the other party to finish combing and come out, but the other party said that he would be late for class, and as a result, he was dragging his feet on the way. Susiener opened her eyes hard, found her seat and sat down directly. Then she yawned, rested her arms on the table, and fell asleep in less than 5 seconds. Lin Jingshu covered her face. This idiot. The other students were also dumbfounded as they looked at Susiener, who was sleeping on the table in the front row. They hadn't seen each other for 5 days, and they had changed a lot. In the past, students in the back row could see Susiener's petite and diligent back as soon as they raised their heads. Some boys would often pay attention. Only by seeing that figure could they have the motivation to study and the goal of struggle. What happened today? The teacher was also stunned, looking at Susiener sitting in front of him, but said nothing and did not disturb the other person's sleep. Lin Jingshu was very surprised when she saw this. She had heard people say that Susianer always ranked first in her grade. She had never believed it, but now she started to believe it. After all, this was the only way the teacher could be so partial to her. She slept until the end of the second period. Susianer's ears twitched when she heard the bell. She felt her arms were numb, and she had a sad face and a look of confusion. That, classmate Su. As soon as she woke up, she heard a male voice coming from her ear. Susianer turned around and squinted her eyes with a bad attitude. What are you doing? Are you okay? As if taken aback by Susianer's attitude, Li Xian stammered, yes, it's like this. Before, the head teacher asked me to take notes for you. This is the key point of your 3-day leave. As he said that, he put a notebook on the table. Just when he was about to run away, Susianer said, wait, where is your position? Over there. Li Xian, who was confused, pointed to his position. Change seats. Looking at the seats in the last row, slightly further back, Susianer's eyes lit up. Whether she was playing with her mobile phone or sleeping, this seat was a godsend. The reason why she woke up after 2 classes was mainly because her sleep was uncomfortable. She could sleep more comfortably if she leaned against the wall. Yesterday the head teacher called me and asked me to change places with you. Susianer panicked without blinking and patted the other person on the shoulder. Hurry up and change places. That's okay. The two changed positions, causing the students to watch in surprise, but no one came over curiously to ask. After changing the positions, Susianer folded the books and was about to continue sleeping peacefully. When she glanced at Lin Jingshu, she was looking at her quietly. Are you a ghost? Susianer was startled and patted her chest. Study committee member, this is your test paper. Lin Jingshu looked at Susianer with resentment and put a pile of test papers on the table. The teacher asked you to hand it to him before school. What is this? Susianer looked confused. You're still asking? Lin Jingshu looked at her bitterly. You fell asleep in class, and the teacher didn't even wake you up. As a study committee member, you should have put away the test papers that the teacher handed out on Friday, but you were sleeping. Everyone just handed the test papers to me. Lin Jingshu knew that she was obviously regarded as Susianer's best friend by her classmates. Although she felt very good in her heart, she could not allow Susianer to degenerate like this. She had heard that Susianer was a very outstanding and talented student, the teacher's darling and little cotton-padded jacket, and being well-behaved was her synonym. Thinking of this, she looked at her suspiciously and said, have you finished the test paper I gave you on Friday? Remember to hand it in together. The teacher said that those who haven't finished it must finish it before going home after school. After that, she saw Susianer pick up a pile of papers on the table with an expressionless face, then randomly pulled out a paper, picked up a pen and prepared to cross out the name on the paper and change it to her own. Are you really an excellent student? Lin Jingshu looked at Susianer's actions in disbelief, feeling that her outlook on life had been overturned. Anyway, no one knows, I do this to go home with you after school. In the end, Susianer did not succeed. After Lin Jingshu's earnest persuasion and asking the teacher to get a new paper, she could only reluctantly copy Lin Jingshu's paper. Lin Jingshu could only stare blankly, because Susianer was the study committee member and had the authority given by the teacher. With these papers in her hands, she could do whatever she wanted. However, the impression of Susianer as the only outstanding student in Lin Jingshu's heart had completely collapsed. At this moment, she even doubted whether the previous teachers and classmates saw a fake Susianer, otherwise how could a person change so much? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 9. After school in the afternoon, Li Xian looked at Susianer, who had changed seats with him, hesitated for a moment, and finally did not go forward. "Why, do you want to confess?" Seeing this, his best friend Zhou Yu next to him smiled. "No. I just didn't bring the flyer when I changed seats at noon, and it's probably on Susianer's desk now." Li Xian shook his head. He was so nervous to talk to Susianer. Although Susianer had changed dramatically in everyone's eyes today, she was still so beautiful. As for beautiful girls, Li Xian would get nervous as soon as he spoke. But he knew that the boys in the class more or less had a crush on Susianer, but no one dared to take the initiative to talk to her, and he was no exception, just because he knew himself. "What is it?" "A game company is recruiting game illustrations. The prize money is quite high. As long as you pass the first round of review, you will get a prize of 3,000 yuan. Li Xian scratched his head. "I forgot the contact information, but it's not a big deal. I can just check it online when the time comes." "I see," Zhou Yu said, and suddenly changed the topic. "Don't you think Susianer seems to have changed today? She is cuter than before." "Really?" Li Xian was confused. "Yes, although she used to smile to everyone, no one dared to get too close to her. Now it's much better." While the two were chatting, Susianer and Lin Jingshu had already gone out. "Wait for me." Lin Jingshu ran to catch up with Susianer and stuffed the things in her hand directly into Susianer. "You forgot something." "What is it?" Susianer looked at the flyer in her hand, confused. "This is not mine. It should belong to the classmate who exchanged seats with you at noon." After hearing this, Lin Jingshu reacted. "Let's go back and give it back to him." "Wait," Susianer stopped her, staring at the words on the flyer. MiHoYo is recruiting character portraits for Honkai Impact 3 from now on August 25 to September 9. Just log in to the official website to register, follow the official requirements, and then upload your drawn portraits to the official website. As long as you pass the first round of review, you can get a bonus of 3,000 yuan. "What's wrong? It's just a flyer, what's so good about it?" Susianer said lazily, then looked at the flyer with interest and murmured, "This crappy game hasn't been made in this world yet. But thinking of the muscle style painting style, it really can't be made, or it can be said that many mobile games in the previous life have not appeared in this world, mainly because the painting style of this world is too bad." Okay, Lin Jingshu thought about it, and it was true. Back home, the two went back to their own rooms and came to the bedroom. The flyer in Susianer's hand had been thrown into the trash can downstairs. She had no interest in MiHoYo's character portrait collection activity, or she hoped that this crappy game would not appear. She had played this mobile game in her previous life. It was a Krypton masterpiece, and the Krypton Gold experience was very poor, with many bugs. Although it changed later, its essence did not change. And the other party's collection of character portraits was obviously intended to develop this mobile game. Naturally, she couldn't let the other party succeed. Anyway, the later this crappy game appeared, the better, and it would be best if it died in this world. Susianer turned on the computer and logged into QQ with resentment, and in an instant, more than a dozen friend verification messages came into her eyes. Tencent Animation Li Yuan, the review editor of the Inner District, requests to add you as a friend. Tencent Animation Xiao Tian, the review editor of the Inner District, requests to add you as a friend. Tencent Animation Wei Qi, the editor in charge of the Inner District, requests to add you as a friend. Tencent Animation Luoyang, the editor-in-chief, requests to add you as a friend. Tencent Animation Zhaojing, the editor-in-chief, requests to add you as a friend. A series of friend verification prompts made Susianer unable to react, and what the hell were these names? Tencent Animation, isn't this the website where she posted the book yesterday? Susianer naturally didn't know that the editorial department of Tencent Animation had gone crazy for her since morning. Originally, the influence was only in the Inner District editorial department, but when Li Yuan first added Susienner on QQ and there was no response, he reported the book to his editor-in-charge. Editor-in-charge Wei Qi was shocked when he saw it, and naturally wanted to contact Susienner, but like Li Yuan, he didn't reply to the QQ friend edition. Then he started to call, but Susienner didn't answer at all, or she was on the phone all day. This made Wei Qi realize that the other party had set the stranger do not disturb mode. Helpless Wei Qi asked Li Yuan to suppress the book first, and then submitted the book to his editor-in-chief Luoyang. Luoyang was surprised and hurried to find the editor-in-chief. Of course, before leaving, he warned Wei Qi not to stop contacting the author. The editor-in-chief Luoyang's mobilization made Wei Qi a little confused. Although the Susien series has created an unprecedented style of painting, it is just a book after all, and the plot has no logic at all in the eyes of professionals. Of course, as an editor in this industry, Wei Qi also has his own scoring standards. Although the book Susien series of Female Takeaway is painted in black and white, he knew it as soon as it appeared, and all the books were hung up and beaten. And all day long, the entire Tencent Comics Li District editorial department was basically contacting Susiener. At 4:30 in the afternoon, when he was about to get off work in half an hour, Li Yuan was absent-mindedly reviewing his notebook while subconsciously staring at the QQ avatar in the lower right corner. A minute later, Li Yuan watched in disbelief as his friend passed. "Teacher Miyobi added me as a friend." A loud roar made other review editors look happy. "Contacted? Quick, 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 ask Miao Bai if he has finished the second chapter." "Yeah, I can't wait. After reading Teacher Miyobi's book and then looking at other books, I feel a little queasy. There is no harm if there is no comparison." The news was quickly known to the editor-in-chief Wei Qi. He hurriedly prepared to contact the editor-in-chief Luoyang, but found out that the other party was actually in a meeting. Wei Qi was stunned for a moment. It seems that today is not the time for a regular meeting, right? Wei Qi couldn't believe what he thought of. No matter how powerful the painting style is, it's just a book. Is it necessary to mobilize so many people? While rushing to the conference room, Wei Qi thought, always feeling that his outlook on life was ruined. "So, Chief Editor Luo, I don't agree that this wonderful pen can draw orthodox comics. Besides, there are so many cartoonists in Tencent Animation, we can definitely train them separately." "Editor Lin, you may not know that a year ago when I was the editor-in-chief of Yu Yaokai, I had the honor to listen to Master Jiang's lecture. At that time, an editor-in-chief from the district asked Master Jiang a question, that is, why are orthodox comics so popular? Sales have been increasing, but the sales of notebooks are gradually decreasing every year." In the conference room, Luoyang sat in his seat and talked eloquently. Master Jiang said at that time, because orthodox comics do not have high requirements for painting style, not to mention that the current painting style is very consistent with martial arts and even fantasy styles, but it still uses the muscle style. Those who are new to this genre will naturally feel excited, but after a while, they will get bored, because the style of the muscle book is actually not in line with people's aesthetics. This is one point. Another point is that the author of the book attaches too much importance to the plot of the book. In order to better understand the cartoonist, Master Jiang browsed the book many times and found that most of the book authors will describe the plot in large lengths, but readers, what is the purpose of this book? That is to vent your desires, but the foreplay is so complicated, which naturally makes readers unhappy. But today we discovered Teacher Miyobi. Needless to say, the style of painting. If we use orthodox comics to compare and comment on the plot of Teacher Miyobi, it would be that the characters have no personality, the content has no logic, and the plot is extremely lacking. It can be said that it is useless. But, what I want to ask is, everyone here, what did you think when you read this book for the first time? Any ideas? As soon as this question was asked, the editors in the conference room looked at each other in confusion, and then fell silent. Some of the thin-skinned editors lowered their heads with twinkling eyes. Seeing this, Lu Yang smiled and said, "The reason why teacher Miyobi's book abandons logic is to get straight to the point. Otherwise, if you add more plots, you may have to read 10 or 20 pages of emotional descriptions. How can there be anything at that time, passion?" Editor Lin frowned. "Does this have anything to do with my problem? I agree that the Miyobi style has created a genre, but since he can't tell stories, he's not worth cultivating." "No, no, no, Editor Lee, you haven't understood what I said." Luo Yang smiled slightly. "Teacher Miyobi probably understands the shortcomings of the current book world, so he set up the plot like this. You think too highly of wonderful writing. Dong dong dong. Please come in. Editor-in-Chief, Teacher Miyobi has contacted me. Please bookmark and recommend votes." Transformed into a comic book artist. Author, Miao by Shen Wu. Chapter 10. Li Yuan was very nervous at this time, very nervous. He never expected that he would be taken so seriously just by contacting Teacher Miyobi. Look who are behind him. Chief Editor Zhao, Chief Editor Lin, Chief Editor Luo, Chief Editor Qin. Searched Can on Google. More than a dozen editors-in-chief and editor-in-chief stood behind him. As for the other review editors and editor-in-chief, they had long been squeezed into nowhere. Taking a deep breath, Li Yuan naturally knew that his purpose now was to talk to Teacher Miyobi. "Hello, Teacher Miyobi, I am Li Yuan, the review editor of Tencent Animation. I'm not blind. Let me ask you, why hasn't my book been approved yet? It's been almost 24 hours. If I don't hurry up, I'll become a monster." Originally, Susiener was looking forward to making money from her book. She accidentally spent hundreds of dollars playing games in the past 2 days, and now she only has a few $100. As a result, the review has not been passed. What the hell, the speed is so slow. Li Yuan was ashamed. It seemed that this Miyobi teacher had a bit of a hot temper, but when he saw what the other party said, his expression tightened. If the other party showed off his evil spirit, it would be a big loss. However, he did not expect that a newcomer from the other party would threaten the editor, which made people laugh and cry. "It's like this, because the current books are basically color comics, but yours are in black and white, so I added you on QQ to ask, can you color it? You know, if you color it, I'm afraid the sales volume it will increase dramatically." This is not an exaggeration. Li Yuan is more confident than Susiener herself. As long as the other party uses color, sales will definitely explode. No, coloring is too troublesome and tiring, and the book needs to be in color. There are so many requests, but I didn't beg them to read it. I just want to read it. Ahem. Editor-in-Chief Zhao saw this and signaled Li Yuan to get down to business. It seems that Teacher Miyobi is very frank. It's like this. In addition to talking about the contract signing, I want to inform you of something else. What's up? It's like this. Tencent Animation will join hands with 2 other animation companies to hold a newcomer competition in a while. Since Mr. Miyobi is involved in the comic industry, he should know that your painting style has created a genre, so if you go to participate in the competition, the painting style alone will amaze the judges, and as long as the story is decent, it should have a place in the newcomer award. When editor Zhao saw this, he felt a little nervous. The reason for this was political reasons. As a top 100 international group, Tencent ranks first in China's fan user stickiness, which means that almost all high-level directors have their own connections with officials. As one of the largest conglomerates in the country, Tencent is jokingly called the Tencent Empire by netizens. It controls the 3 major groups of teenagers, young people, and middle-aged people, and has always been concerned by China's top political leaders. In recent years, the country has intended to support AC. After promulgating the policy, it had no effect, so it placed its hope on Tencent. Tencent animation has risen due to this, but the reason why animation is called animation is because of the combination of comics and animation. Most animations are adapted from comics. The quality level of comics represents the level of animation. Although Tencent Animation wants to develop this business, it cannot be changed by a group, not to mention that Tencent Animation is only a subsidiary, so naturally it cannot put all its resources here. The comics industry originated from Xiangjiang, and today orthodox comics of martial arts and fantasy have taken shape. Fantasy is also the most popular subject among novels. As long as the comic adaptation is good, it will naturally become popular. This has resulted in the orthodox muscle style of comics being the mainstream. However, if an industry wants to develop, it must seek common ground while reserving differences and allowing 100 schools of thought to contend. However, this is not the case in the comics industry. This is also the reason why comics are not popular in China. On the contrary, novels are extremely developed. But today I saw different painting styles, which made Zhao Jing seem to have found a way out. He has been thinking about how to change the current situation in the comics industry, and finally came to the conclusion that the style of painting can change. If there are countless different painting styles to adapt to different stories, so that comics are no longer exclusive to martial arts and fantasy, maybe comics will become popular. Unfortunately, the idea is great, but the current situation is cruel. But he didn't expect to see different painting styles presented to him today. Although it was a notebook, it gave him hope. As someone who created a painting style, he naturally wanted to cultivate it vigorously. After all, he is the founder of a painting style genre. This title alone can make him famous in the comics industry through packaging. According to what editor Lin said before, to cultivate his own cartoonists and make them imitate the style of painting, Zhao Jing and Lu Yang have the same idea and do not agree with this. Following the trend is always just following the trend, and you will never be as good as the founder. Oh. Looking at the replies on the computer screen, everyone looked at each other. Does this mean they are participating? Or refuse? By the way, when will you get royalties for publishing comics on the website? Seeing this, Li Yuan subconsciously replied, it's like this. Tencent Animation's comics can be read for free for readers for the first 5 pages, and then they have to pay to watch. And the rewards and subscriptions generated by readers are the result of the website and the author. Half and half. As for the royalties, you must send us the contract, and then we will pay the royalties to your bank account on the 10th of every month. That means I won't be able to get the money until the 10th of next month. That's right. Then send me the contract and I will mail it. Seeing this, Li Yuan was about to speak when he saw Susiener's profile picture turned black. He then sent several messages, but the other party did not reply. For a moment, Li Yuan was dumbfounded. Not only Li Yuan, but the people behind him also had confused expressions. That's it? Then will the other party participate in the comic rookie competition? Humph, editor-in-chief, I said that this Maobi is just an extraordinary painter. If the other party is deeply involved in orthodox comics, how could he draw a book? Editor-in-chief Lin took a look and snorted coldly, obviously confirming his point of view again. Although books and lifen are part of the comics industry, they are not presentable in front of the orthodox comics industry because they think it is filthy. And most of the comics industry draw books for the sake of learning. Because there are many fighting postures of men and women in the books, the requirements for painting are very high. Many newcomers who are not good at painting will draw books to hone their skills. Of course, there is another point. The skills of the comic book artists in making up stories are very weak. Although they will depict a lot of emotional plots before the battle between men and women, they are not popular. As long as the orthodox cartoonists can become famous, they have their own unique settings for the plot, character personality, worldview, etc., so they naturally looked down on the cartoonists who draw books. Zhao Jing and Luo Yang looked at each other. Although they didn't want to believe it, they were shaken in their hearts. It is obvious that this Miyobi didn't want to start this topic. The two of them didn't know much about Miyobi, so naturally they didn't know what the other party thought, so they only had the most superficial thinking. That is, Miyobi and editor Lin said the same thing, and the other party couldn't control the orthodox comics. Thinking of this, Zhao Jing frowned slightly and patted Li Yuan on the shoulder. You will be responsible for contacting Miyobi in the future, and get to know each other more. Okay, editor-in-chief.